The time has finally come. This is the pre-season 8 coverage of the Professional Grappling Federation, and we got Brandon McCatherine in the building to talk about all the major news that has gone around. I've been there for season 6, season 7. They were epic. Andy Varela, season 6 champion. Ryan Aiken getting it the next season. And now we're into new territory with season 8. Tell us about the major announcement that was brought, changing the format from a 5-day season into a 3-month-long season.
Yeah, so it's the new format, but really it's the old format. So this was the original idea. This is how we did season 1. During season 1, it was every Friday night we had jiu-jitsu. Every athlete played 3 matches, and we did that for weeks in a row. I think we did 13 weeks during season 1, and then we compressed everything down into the 1-week season, beginning with season 2, running through season 7, so that we could really smash our learning curve together, and we could kind of 6x the mistakes we need to make. So it was a way to sort of scale the unscalable, so to speak. And so now the plan was we were going to unveil this for season 9, but everything kind of fell in place the right way. So we're busting it out for season 8. So I think this is like a monumental moment for jiu-jitsu. Maybe I'm a little biased, but
I'm so curious because I remember when it was just an idea that it might possibly happen, and then it'll be like, oh, well, it's probably going to happen in season 9, and then all of a sudden we're here. So what was the main reason for you that you wanted to do it and make this a part of season 8?
well, so like I said, we've always wanted to do it this way. It's just always been a matter of a couple of things. Number one, being in a location. Number one, most important, being in a location where we can get athletes, like a strong pool of athletes that can be there every week. You know, we did it in season 1, but we did it in Decatur, Alabama. You know what I mean? So the pool of athletes, just not as many people to choose from. You know, not that the quality of the jiu-jitsu is any lower, but the quantity of the jiu-jitsu is much lower out here in the South, especially in Alabama. But by doing it, moving the headquarters out to Vegas, that starts to become more of a possibility. So now we have, I mean, we could fill the season up with nothing but grapplers from Las Vegas and have very high level jiu-jitsu all season long, much less people that are willing to drive in from Southern California. They want to make the trip. You know, you got the surrounding state. There's a lot of talent out around within driving distance of Las Vegas. And then we got a lot of the athletes that are they're just picking up their life and moving to Las Vegas for the regular season. So that's pretty exciting too. But that was one of the reasons, was just the accessibility to a larger talent pool. So that was a big factor. And then, you know, we had to set up the business in a sustainable way so that we wouldn't just be like, I don't want to run, okay, we made enough money to do the next event. Okay, let's, like, it can't be event to event to event. It has to be built in a sustainable way so that it's alive and thriving after I'm dead. So once I felt like we had sorted out enough of our mistakes and we have the business in a place where something like this could be sustainable, then it's the right decision. It's just a matter of everything falling into place at the right time to make it happen.
Craig can joke about his death, but Brandon McCatherine is going to live forever. I think that's everybody's assumption in the jiu-jitsu world, because your energy
That's what
is
I'm
just
hoping
too
for.
important. It's too
That's what
important
I'm
to us,
hoping for.
BMAC. I remember when I was first finding out about the PGF and really just taking in the fact that 12 matches over 4 days and the potential for 15. When I talked to other competitors that were thinking about joining the PGF, some of them are so excited, go-getters, and then other ones are like, oh man, I don't know if I can take that. The durability is so serious. So how do you think changing to the 3-month season is going to help with the durability? Because now, even if they do kind of get a little bit of an injury, they'll have, you know, that week to recover.
Well, I think it's going to be big for the athlete. I think everybody wins with this, really, but let's talk about how the athletes win. So it's still going to be a gauntlet, but it's going to be a different kind of gauntlet. You won't be going through the same physical. It's not as big of an ask physically. It's still a huge ask because you got to come in and do it every week. But it's a much more sustainable way to handle our athletes. So that's one of the major factors in feeling like it was the right move. I do think, however, that the mental toll is going to be harder on the athletes because they're going to have to show up week to week. Like you go home, you go out and have a bad night, you lose 3 matches, you got to sit with those 3 matches all week. And now you get to week 3 and it's looking like you're out of the playoffs, but you still got 2 weeks of the season left. You're going to have to dig deep to find the motivation to continue. And so I think we'll find out a lot of different kinds of things about the athletes with this format.
And I saw in the Changing of the Guard, episode 6, if you are a jiu-jitsu fan and you're trying to get all caught up with all things Professional Grappling Federation news, you got to go to their YouTube channel and watch the works of art that Keelan has been putting together. But Chris Wojcik put it really well. He said, if you're going to do this tournament, you need to understand it is a 12-match season. You can come back from a loss, but you can't come back from a broken leg. So there are moments where people get you in some type of leg lock and something, and you want to keep fighting, but for the sake of the rest of the season, the best thing to do sometimes is protect yourself and not let yourself get hurt. And that's even more important when we were in the cram season, because it was just back-to-back matches. Do you think that will affect anything with the change in season format going to 3 months this time?
I think it'll still be true that you have to protect yourself for the season. Sometimes it's easier to keep going the same day when you got your leg popped than it is to come back and do it again 2 days later, because it's had a little time to sit and
adrenaline stops.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now all the inflammation's pouring in. So yeah, in some ways it's going to be it's just going to be important in a different way. Like the athletes are going to have to manage themselves a little bit differently, but I think overall it's a much more sustainable thing to ask the athletes to do.
And we have the man with the 10-pound brain in the group chat. Before we get to some of his questions, let's just take a look at this wonderfully well done preview of what season 8 is going to be.
Different buzz in this building tonight, is there not?
The PGF is back. Season 8 marks a pivotal moment where jiu-jitsu takes the next step in its evolution. The Professional Grappling Federation announced their expansion into a full weekly season, starting in July and culminating in September. In a world where action speaks louder than words, where hesitation is punished, and greatness requires taking risk, this is the only weekly jiu-jitsu league on the planet. A true season of war in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas. 20 elite athletes are drafted to 4 different teams, all hoping to make the playoffs, where the Season 8 champion will be crowned. Stall and pay the price. Hesitate and be hunted. This is jiu-jitsu reimagined for the modern world. Backed by legends, built for the future. The PGF is not just a league. It's a grappling revolution.
One of the best experiences of my life. This is the future. I gotta be honest with you.
Season 8 begins with the draft on June the 25th. Live and free on YouTube. The Professional Grappling Federation. It's everything you love about sports, plus jiu-jitsu.
I got chills just watching that. And as you'll see, it is the schedule that we have, the draft starting off June 25th. And I'm very excited to hear your take on how things will be different this draft. Because again, if you guys go back to some of the content that is seen on the PGF page, Keelan sent out basically a way to get opinions from the fighters on how the money should be divided up, whether or not the draft should actually be real money. So BMAC, I want to hear what your perspective on this is, and if there's been any progress on that topic.
Yeah, sure. So I got a lot of information I can give you on that. So yeah, we've done 7 seasons of the PGF, which means at 20 or more athletes per season. If you count the alternates, 28 athletes per season. We've had a lot of different athletes come through the PGF. And the one thing that they all feel pretty much in unison about is that they would rather have a larger guaranteed base pay and less money for the team prize. I feel like the team prize should be distributed out to the roster as a whole more evenly. And if that's what the athletes want, then that's what we do. So we still have the same total money in the prize pool, but we're distributing most of that through the draft and through a bonus system that we're going to run throughout the week. So for this season, each coach is going to get $15,000, and it's going to be real cash. And they got to draft 5 athletes, and they got $15,000 to do it. And so whatever the athlete gets drafted for becomes his base pay for the season. So let's say you get drafted for $5,000, that becomes your base pay, and then you can get bonused for performance bonuses quite a bit throughout the week. You can also win the team bonus at the end of the season, and then you could win the individual championship at the end of the season. And then we'll have basically a digital tip jar running the whole season for each athlete as well.
Ooh, I like that. So fans watching the stream can give
Yes.
tips.
Yes.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so just to play devil's advocate, what do you say to the people who, I don't know, maybe they assume that they're going to win the entire thing, and they say, this is prize fighting. The winner should get the big prize. If you want stable income, you should be an accountant. I don't want to split the money. Are we going to be are we going to be asking for the athlete's opinion every single season, or are we taking their opinions from this past season and just going to be using that for the rest of time?
Well, I'm always going to ask the athletes' opinions. I'm not always going to do what the athletes want, but I'm always going to be interested in what they have to say. And if there's a change warranted, then absolutely. That's the nice thing about driving the ship when it's this small, is like we can turn quickly and we can make decisions the right way quickly, you know.
So let's talk to the guy with the 20-pound brain. It's been a while since we all hung out, not 10-pound. That's a little bit insulting, I guess. Sebastian Attard called some competitors out that might have sat out matches due to pride, etc. Any new elements to incentivize and force competitors to finish the season? I think I do remember something like this happening on a few different occasions, especially when you get a guy like Ryan Aiken, who is just a massive human beast, man. And I think I noticed some people might have been sitting out for different matches, not just necessarily against Ryan. So is there any way that we can incentivize people that they're going to do what they say that they're going to do, really do all 12 matches and not maybe fall back and pull the injury card?
Well, yeah, I think this will help actually. So we're talking about the draft money. Say you got drafted for $5,000, that becomes your pay for the season, but it's prorated per match. So if you sit out a match, the alternate that comes in gets paid what you would have been paid for that match.
Interesting. Okay, that's definitely a good tidbit to know. I also would love to talk about the stalling calls, because that is something that I've seen in real time make some progress. From season 6, people felt like the stalling calls weren't exactly consistent, and I feel like in season 7 they were quick. So what was your general takeaway from that season?
I feel like the officiating is getting better. After season 6, the officiating was my number one concern. It was the number one thing that I felt like we had to really improve. I feel like we made a lot of really positive strides with season 7, and I think we'll make equal number of positive strides for season 8. So another nice thing, each week we can get better and better. That's another thing about having it spread out over the course of a whole season, is like we have a week to make adjustments right there. So if we need to take a look at the officiating or go back and reverse a call, we've got time to do this. We don't have to rush through the decision-making process. So I think we'll be much better, and then we'll continue to improve as the season progresses.
And I'm going to bring up this kind of meme that goes through the jiu-jitsu community of when you compete at IBJJF, if your name is Brazilian, sometimes people will be like, oh, the referee's going to maybe be favoring in that side. And it's kind of just a joke. But what is your thoughts on when there were some complaints last season of maybe someone that isn't from 10th Planet, and then we have like a 10th Planet ref or something like that? What is your instant reaction on that? Because there was obviously some conversation about that.
I mean, I totally understand the criticism, you know, so it doesn't fall on deaf ears. They're not wrong. It's just Eddie's the best at the EBI overtime rules. And another thing, if we're going to get somebody who knows what they're looking at on the jiu-jitsu mat, they're going to be from somebody's affiliation. Mm-hmm. You know, like the the jiu-jitsu world is just too small. So yeah, I totally get it, but it's got to be somebody, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I hear you. I'll do my best to rectify that, but it also kind of is what it is, you know?
I think that's all anyone can ask for sure. And I see Egghead just asked a really good question, because this fantasy league is about to get even more interesting now that we're doing it over the 3-month period. So how does that change things? Because when we were in the 5-day league, sometimes it just all happens so fast in a blur. But how can things be expanded even more now that it's going to be in a 3-month season and people can really go hard in the fantasy league and really drag it out, so to say?
Well, we have a fantasy app ready to unleash for this season that I am super excited about. It looks really good, works really well. So I think that you guys will really like it. But I think the fantasy is going to be a way more fun part of the season this time. You know, it's hard to do your research and make intelligent decisions on who you want on your team when you only have like 1 day in between matches. And man, during that Shark Week, you have to be like the nerdiest of nerds to watch all of it, you know?
Committed for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot easier as a fan to keep up with. There's going to be opportunity for you to just imagine how much more media is going to be able to be done, just covering what just happened in the season or during this last week, and then what's about to happen in week 2. Here's who's on the schedule. Here's who's on the bubble heading into the playoffs, and here's who's secured their spot. Here's who's definitely out. Here's what this matchup means. I mean, there's just so much more analysis and talking points to be had that I think the things like the media cycle or the PGF media, I guess, and the fantasy league are going to be some of the things that benefit the most from it. So I think it's like the best possible thing that could happen for the fans of the sport.
And the thing that I love most about the PGF is not only we have big stars, but we also have up-and-comers who are hungry to make their name. And I feel like some of the biggest ones that we've seen in real time, Jet Thompson, Nathan Haddad, Cam Hurd. He's just coming off of a big win at the ADCC Open that he had to beat up another PGF vet as well. So to you, is there any athletes that stand out that you're just so proud they are part of the PGF and now really kind of catapulted their career into having so much momentum?
Oh yeah, man. I'm super proud of almost all of the athletes that we've had, but so many of them now are moving on to do like some of the biggest platforms you can do in the sport, or they've established themselves with like a full the ability to actually make a living off of what they did in the PGF. Like Cam, you mentioned, he gets to go around and do seminars. He's winning ADCC Opens, you know. So he's a really bright example. I think about Nathan Haddad, who just was on UFC Fight Pass. Ernesto got onto EBI. Christos got onto EBI or Combat Jiu-Jitsu. Who else? Oh, man, dude. Elijah. What Elijah has done. Like, Elijah's probably the best possible example because he really hasn't done any other rule sets. And some of the things that he's about to announce with his career, he got there through his own work and through the platform of the PGF. So, yeah, he's probably the best example.
Yeah, the PGF just provides the ultimate proving ground, and it has had some of the best matches with vets of the sport. We've had PJ Barch on there, Andy Varela, who got the championship. And now there's so many different things going on in jiu-jitsu in general. I know you're going to be at the UFC Invitational May 29th.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk about that as well, because I feel like when you do the PGF and you act like a professional and you're on time, you're respectful, those are the type of people that UFC Fight Pass wants to work with. That's why when they called Nathan Haddad's name, I was like, Nathan is in there and he deserves to be, because he is always the person who I asked for an interview. He's going to do the interview. He's on time. Always in a good mood, even when he's about to compete against like a Goliath. So shout out Nathan. I know that we were trying to manifest a match with him and Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal coming off of the first loss of his UFC career. So I think Bo could potentially need some time off from the striking, just do some submission grappling. What are your thoughts of a Bo Nickal versus Nathan Haddad match?
I mean, dude, I wish we could see that. That would be incredible. That would be incredible. I would love to see that matchup. I'd love to see that for Nathan as well. I mean, I got to go with my boy Nathan. You know what I mean? I got to go with my boy Nathan. He's dangerous. He's a sub artist.
For sure. And then I also spoke with Paul Ardilla, who was like, how come you're never getting on these UFC Fight Pass invitationals? He was like, yeah, I'm definitely interested. I feel like there's going to be a lot of movement with the future of Fight Pass Invitational. So again, we'll talk about that more. We're here for PGF, and Egghead had another great question. Any rumors on coaches? We've seen legendary coaches, Husher Gracie, Dean Lister. Is this some information that we can tease a little bit? It's not been officially released.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of pieces of info about the coaches. So I'll tell you this: two of the coaches are PGF veterans. Okay. Another set of the coaches. This is a pair that's going to be the coach. This pair already has a PGF title under their belt, team title under their belt. And then the other is a literal Hall of Famer.
Oh, wow.
World champion. They're all Vegas locals. All the coaches live in Las Vegas.
That's definitely perfect and very helpful for season 8. This is going to be 3 months long. I know that when we do the CJI hints, we have jiu-jitsu investigators, and they just like quickly figure everything out. So we'll see if one of you guys are able to figure out the coaches. And that'll be one of the major announcements that we end up making. But what's going to come first? Are we going to be announcing some roster announcements soon? We have some time, but...
Yeah, I think we're going to drop the roster all at once. So we usually release the roster like one at a time, but I think we're going to just drop the whole thing at once so everybody can start playing with the draft and the schedule and the fantasy and just doing sports fan things with the roster. It's easier and more fun when you got the whole roster.
Yes, and then we're going to get to experience the draft, and it'll be even more special because they're going for real money. And I think that's an awesome way to bring it back. And also they'll like know how much they get and also be incentivized to continue fighting throughout that whole season. Is there any other news that you want people to look out for or places that they could follow for the latest and greatest updates?
I'll tell you something else about the bonuses that I think you'll find funny. So the way that we're going to do the bonuses is we've got these burlap sacks with money signs drawn on them. And we're stuffing them full of cash. And each of the owners is going to have like 10 bags full of money to throw throughout the season. So like me, Keelan, Zoe, Heather, each of us will have like 10 bags of money. And so anything happens during the match that we like, we just throw money, just throw the money bag out in the middle of the match.
Oh my gosh. I love that aspect. Yeah. I also love the aspect of like the yellow little flag that we do for the stalling. Is like, it just brings everything that you love about sports plus jiu-jitsu. So I think that's exactly what sports fans need. Let's see if we have anything else to talk about because we can't really release too much information. We do have Nathan Haddad in the building, all because of PGF. We cannot wait to see you back out there, Nathan. I know, let me get the Instagram questions from people because there were some questions on Instagram. For the commissioner, Jay Psycho says, why is his voice so soothing? When can he start doing audiobooks?
I can't read, so that would be a real problem.
All right, next question. What's the word on a women's division in PGF?
Well, so the word is this. We had a ladies division during season 4. Nickal Jackson emerged as the first female champion. And then we haven't had a season for the ladies since. What we've done is we've put super fights or tournaments on at the finale. And that's what we'll do again this season. There is a possibility we sprinkle in a few ladies matches during the regular season. But right now there's no solid plans on how we're gonna incorporate the ladies division. So right now, just keeping the divisions alive with super fights until I know exactly what I want to do with it. But it's a priority of mine, dude. My 2 favorite grapplers in the world are women, my wife and my daughter. So female grappling is very personal and important to me in that way. So I want to see it do good things, but I also have to make the best possible decision for the league as well. Because we can only run, even the men's divisions, we can only run one weight class per season. So I can keep the ladies divisions alive through super fights right now. And so that's kind of the plan.
Yeah. And then also it's like the consideration of how much time you have broadcast wise. When we talk about where people can watch this, in the past, it's been the regular season on YouTube. People will be able to watch the regular season live and free on YouTube this season as well.
That's right. The draft and the regular season, both going to be free to watch on YouTube, as all things should be. And then the finale will be behind a paywall, but I can't really tell you the scoop on that just yet.
Well, there's going to be plenty of news to break, but again, we have so much time that we don't want to break it all now. Egghead Warrior asked, will the bullpen be doing the pre and post show again?
Yes.
Love it. Ref, 100%. Always bringing the energy, always bringing that professional sports vibe that we need. Does this mean there will only be one season per year? From Geb Hard 1?
No, great question. Right now, that's yes, one season per year. And then we'll be filling up the off season with qualifiers, one-off tournaments, super fights, stuff like that. So we'll be keeping the schedule full throughout the year, but there'll only be one season per year.
Awesome. And
for now, who knows what happens as it grows.
Thymos MMA says PGF white belt edition.
You know what? We could do that. Tim Freeman's been trying to get me to do this idea called BMAX Race to the Bottom. And we're looking for the worst grappler in the world. And so if you win, you actually are out of the bracket.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll just keep going until we find the worst grappler.
That is definitely going to be very entertaining. Like, what the heck can we even plan to see?
That's a great YouTube video. BMAX Race to the Bottom. That's a great idea.
And Enrique GK asked, what weight is it going to be and how can we get in?
Season 8 is 155 pounds, and it's too late to get in for season 8. So
that roster is locked.
That's right. And season 9 is probably going to be heavyweight. Don't quote me on that. It's either going to be 175 or it's going to be heavyweight, meaning over 206 pounds. So huge weight is what we should say.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Season 6 was so entertaining. And then season 7, I was like, this is entertaining, but I'm having anxiety because the guys are so big and the leg locks are even more. And like, I love a good choke, but sometimes when you hear too many pops, you kind of get the
heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, that's how you put it. Yeah. With one of the women's matches that we had Rana Willing versus Ira Cousins. That was another audible pop that we got, but it just goes to show that the women are really elevating their game and bringing the action. Vicious submission, so quick too.
Well, that one was fast. Kaya's match against Vanessa was crazy fast. That one was under a minute. Yeah, I mean, we have some super talented women in the sport, super talented. The problem is, just like if we were trying to do the season in Decatur, Alabama, we wouldn't have as many talented men to pull from. Well, in the national scene, there's just not as many talented women to pull from. The number of women that train is just way, way lower. And so it's hard to fill a roster. You know what I mean? Especially if we're going to do it spread out over the full season like this, where you got to, that's tough to fill that with people who can make that trip every week, you know?
Yeah, but like you said, Vegas is such a hub off the top of my head, but I'm kind of biased because Tempe, Vegas, those are my homies. We got Val Wong in there and Nichelle kicking butt, and then the people from Hybrid and all that. So I'm definitely excited for the future. But super fights, I think, are the perfect breath of fresh air, because sometimes when you go back to back with all these team fights, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much to process.
Yeah, maybe give everything a little bit of room to breathe sometimes.
Exactly. And our final question for today, will the new season have cameras following coaches and fighters around to build up content?
Yep. Yes, definitely. If you haven't seen on our YouTube channel, the PGF World YouTube channel, the Grappler series, where we send a documentary team around with everybody the whole season. And that Grappler series is a look behind the scenes, exactly what you're looking for. So if you haven't had a chance to see that yet, you definitely should go and watch that. But we'll definitely be capturing that kind of content again. And again, because we're going to have so much more time between matches, probably going to get to turn that kind of footage around much faster. And so have a lot more context and story building, Tom, as a fan.
Have you heard from anyone from season 7 that worked with New Hope Regeneration, who is a big sponsor of PGF and also the winning team last year, if they've been able to use their stem cells?
Yeah, I know Travis did. I think most of the guys from the winning team did already. I'm not 100%
Travis
sure.
definitely needs it. I hope he's doing well.
He's doing super well. He's probably having the fastest recovery I've ever seen on an ACL injury. So he's doing very, very well.
Typical athlete things for sure. We cannot wait to see who is going to be making up this roster. And is that going to be dropping on YouTube first, on Instagram, so people can be up to date with all this?
You know, maybe we should drop it on your podcast.
That would be a great way, Honor. And then we can stream it on multiple things, because I'm learning how to use my fancy camera, how to stream in multiple places. I think that could be good breaking news.
Maybe we should drop it on your podcast, and maybe we could line up as many of the athletes as we could to like pop in.
Yes,
we could
right.
We could do it like a reveal with a quick interview with them right afterwards.
Yes, I think that'd be perfect. And my StreamYard can definitely handle all that. Right now, I'm trying to get Craig Jones to pop in right now, but he just woke up from a nap. He just got done traveling from Minnesota with Gable Steveson. But I'm all for like adding people into this live chat. And if there's any things that you want to discuss with Craig tomorrow, we're going to be doing some filming, because we love to align with all the other jiu-jitsu promotions. I know Polaris has a big event coming up. You're going to be working UFC Fight Pass. Can you give me a quick breakdown of what we can expect for UFC Fight Pass Invitational with the headliner, the first female jiu-jitsu headliner, the biggest match in today's current events, Adele Fornerino taking on Fionn Davis?
Yeah, it's the best possible match with the ladies division that you could make. So you got the woman who I think, as it stands right now, I think Fionn is the best female that we've ever seen. As far as just pinnacle of technique, she's outstanding. She's excellent. She doesn't have any glaring weaknesses in any position. She knows how to win in multiple rule sets. She knows how to finish. She knows how to win by points. She knows how to eke out a decision. She knows how to come from behind. I think Fionn is just as good as it gets. And then you got Adele, you know what I mean? Like, she's probably the hottest grappler in the female of all the females right now. So I think it's the best matchup that you could possibly make. It's Fionn fighting to, I guess, solidify a legacy that's still in the making. And then Adele looking to jump up and take a bite out of that and remove her from the #1 position.
And I remember after Helena Cravar got the submission of the year so far against Maggie Grandotti, you asked her, hey, any interest in fighting Raquel Canuto? But Raquel, she's undefeated in Fight Pass Invitational as well. She wants some of these top girls to also cancel each other out. So we're also going to get a fun match with Raquel. And that match is going to be huge. Do you think that's going to be enough to put her in title contention when those belts finally do get breaking out on the UFC Fight Pass Invitational platform?
So it's going to be Helena versus Raquel for sure?
No. Raquel's match
heard that. Yeah.
is against Anna Vieira. But I was talking with Raquel and I was like, ooh, BMAC is like pushing for Helena Cravar. And then you also had Brianna St. Marie. And she's like, yeah, that's when you know that you're #1. Everyone's calling your name. And so she's like, I want all those girls calling out my name to cancel each other out. She'll take care of business with this upcoming match, which is enough on her plate. And then hopefully her next match can be for the belt.
I can't wait till they get the belts installed. The belts and the rankings. I just feel like there needs to be a little bit of order to all the madness over there. Because right now it's just like, let's just make the coolest matchups. Which, by the way, I'm totally cool with. Let's do that. But man, it would add just this layer of legitimacy and swagger and importance to it if there were rankings and title fights and actual champions in each division. So I think that's definitely what's coming next. Just they haven't nailed it yet. I think we'll see something about that, at least a little bit about it on this next Fight Pass card. But I think that they'll break out the whole thing at International Fight Week. At the end of June.
Ooh, but that's going to be so soon anyway. So
Yeah, that's the end of June, you know. So the PGF draft goes down June 25th, and then International Fight Week starts that same day and runs through the rest of the weekend.
And then that weekend, there's also Polaris. That's going to be the women's squad. Helena Cravar is the captain for the North American squad, and Fionn Davis is going to be the captain for the European squad. That's going to be huge. I really like that team format as well. Did you catch the last Polaris event that they had?
I've pretty much seen all the Polaris events. Yeah, I've seen. They always have a different rule set going, you know. So I like the squad's rule set. I think that's probably the most fun thing that they do.
I like it a lot too. I think it was so fun to watch it go down between North America versus Europe, and I think and it also requires the same type of tenacious go-getter type athlete that it takes for PGF, because I feel like a lot of athletes sometimes look at PGF and they don't want to do it because they don't want to get taken out by like a no-namer or something, and so you have to be down to like prove yourself constantly. And that's what I kind of like about squads, because you don't know what matchup you're going to get. You could be the smallest guy in the division going up against a heavyweight.
Yeah, well, you said it, dude, about the PGF. That's the thing that I like the most about it is, like, from the get-go, it doesn't matter what belt rank you are. Are you fun? And that's how we build the roster. It's not a contest to find out who's the best at jiu-jitsu. That's not what we're doing. Sometimes being patient, taking your time is the best thing you can do to have good jiu-jitsu. That's the worst thing you can do in the PGF. It's supposed to be all offense. That's the worst kind of TV there is. We want all offense at the PGF. So I go and try to pick athletes that I think are gonna, maybe you've never even heard of this guy, but I have my thumb on the pulse of the up and coming athletes throughout the country. And I'm telling you, I got a roster full of 155-pound spark plugs, dude. Everybody there. And it's very, what's the word? There's a ton of parity across it too. So like as I look at the list, it's like, I don't know how you predict this. It could go one of 20 ways. Really feel like every single person on the roster could win it.
I love it. And we're going to be covering it all in this pre-season coverage. Craig just texted back, but he's getting tacos right now. We're going to get him on here at some point, and we're going to talk about CJI and PGF, because I really think that CJI is obviously like the Super Bowl, WrestleMania pinnacle of jiu-jitsu, whereas PGF, I feel like people need to pay attention, because I think this is the future of how people get paid consistently. And if we can get it to the point of these colleges are now interested in this rule set, now we're talking about NIL money. That's where the real money is being made by wrestlers. So I feel like if you are a young one like the Nickal, Nickal from 10 Planet Vegas, he was someone that kind of wanted to do the 155-pound division as well. I'm like, I'm gonna try for you, but I know you said that they're already locked in. But if young guys like that end up going to college for jiu-jitsu and can end up getting NIL money, then they don't have to completely depend on a yearly $1 million tournament or something like that for big payouts. So I'm really excited for that possibility. And I feel like that was one of the biggest reasons why you thought that this type of format is a way to make a uniform set that could be taken into a real sports setting.
Yeah, well, to me, I'm not just looking at the PGF itself, but I'm looking at how do I build the entire industry? Because there's no infrastructure for how a professional jiu-jitsu industry would be put together, like much less a league. Like that's just one part of it. You know what I'm saying? But there has to be a pipeline that funnels into the league. There has to be, you have to set up streams of revenue. You have to set up business systems. Like there's so much to do that, I think a lot of people just don't realize what has to go into it. But yeah, I want to have the whole thing set up, the whole pipeline set up to be sustainable, actual career potential for these guys, whether it's going through it as an athlete or finding a place to work within the industry and within the infrastructure as a media person, or I don't know, dude, running the website for the league. Like I feel like we can create a giant ecosystem that maybe we don't have the $1 million payday to one athlete, but maybe we take $1 million and we spread it out across 20. You know what I'm saying? So
I like that. And the
that's really
collaboration.
that's really more of like the avenue that I'm trying to go for, instead of just looking for the top dogs in the sport and spending a whole paycheck, because then the money just circulates at the top of the sport. It doesn't actually change the rest of the sport that much. You know what I mean? But you could take $5,000 and give it to 20 different guys, and you can change their year with that money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and all the support also with new Hope Regeneration. I think that's huge. We got to give out to Salt Electrolytes, Gaidama, and Gen X Refine for also being a big part of season 8. And of course, Once Upon a Coconut, that is going to be refueling all of our guys, even though it won't be as drastically needing to replenish the electrolytes in a 5-day season. They're going to be able to take home a lot of Once Upon a Coconut water, which is the best coconut water in the world. Shout out Heather Gracie, who is a big investor and influence in PGF, Zoltan Bathory for 5-Finger Death Punch, and of course, Brandon McCaffin. We got Willow on the graphics. We got Egghead in the building. Willow J's busy right now, but he handles all the photography. And I feel like that is my favorite part, is after the event when we see all the photos of the great moments. Ryan Aiken crying, Andy Varela in Coach Casey's arms hugging. And these are the big payday moments that really just make the best moments in jiu-jitsu. And I'm so happy for it. BMAC, is there anything else you have coming up in the future that you want to let people know about?
No, I'm just gonna kind of keep most of the rest of it under my hat for now, with my luscious hair. Yeah.
I love it. Well, we're going to teach you how to read so that you can also do audiobooks on the side. I know you're a very busy guy, but he was very wanting to hear your voice read some good novels. Until next time, this is the PGF Preseason 8 show for all of you guys, and we're going to be doing this. I'll also upload it to Spotify. I feel like a 42-minute podcast is a perfect podcast for a nice little commute. So until next time, I'm Alex Wendling. That's BMAC.